This morning, 6 men and 10 women will come face to face with the man who Las Vegas police and prosecutors say ordered the murder of rap icon Tupac Shakur almost 30 years ago.
Today, you're going to hear about opening arguments in the trial of Keefe over the death of Tupac Shakur. So why is this such a big deal? Well, first of all, right now, prosecutors, they don't have a shooter, they don't have a gun, they don't have a cooperator, they don't have an informant. What they have is Keefe's own words. His book was called Compton Street Legend.
Before we get started, we do need to have you sworn. So if I could have you all stand and raise your right hand, we'll proceed with that.
You and each of you do solemnly swear that you will well and truly try the case at issue and a true verdict render according to the evidence, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mr. Palal, are you ready to give your opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed whenever you're ready.
On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur came to Las Vegas to attend a Mike Tyson fight. After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself, they attacked him. That attack was captured on video. Then, a few hours later, Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight drive down Flamingo Road to Club 662, where Tupac is scheduled to perform a concert. Then 2.5 hours later, after Tupac and Suge engaged in the beating of Orlando Anderson, they are gunned down. Tupac is gunned down in a drive-by shooting from a white Cadillac in an act of revenge. During those 2.5 hours, you will learn that the defendant was escalating and planning the retribution for the beating of his beloved nephew. Now, let's be clear. Dwayne Davis did not pull the trigger. But what he did do was plan the retaliation for the beating of his nephew. You will learn that Dwayne Davis got the gun. You will learn that he got into a white Cadillac. You will learn when the opportunity presented itself for retribution, Dwayne Davis made sure that the shooters were armed and ready to execute their revenge. And remarkably, you will learn that from Dwayne Davis himself. But to understand what happened on September 7th, 1996, on the streets of Las Vegas, we need to go about 275 miles west to the city of Compton, California. What you'll learn is that Compton is about 10 square miles. But in the mid-1990s, those 10 square miles were occupied by over 30 gangs claiming its territory. And important to this case, there are 2 gangs, Mob Piru and the Southside Compton groups. Let's talk a little bit about the Mob Piru. The Mob Piru is a group that associated with the color red. And you'll hear that Suge Knight, the person who was driving Tupac Shakur that night, grew up in the neighborhood of Mob Piru. But by the mid-1990s, he had become a very successful CEO of the record label Death Row Records. But despite, or maybe because where he came from, you'll hear that Suge Knight continued to employ Mob Piru gang members as part of Death Row. They would act as unofficial security, and other times they would engage in, let's call them other acts, on behalf of Suge Knight. But Death Row in the mid-1990s, record labels were out. They had artists such as Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and of course, Tupac Shakur. And in 1996, Tupac Shakur was maybe the largest and biggest, most successful rapper around. He had just sold, released All Eyes on Me, a double album that was met with huge success. Additionally, Tupac Shakur was a movie star, having appeared in a number of movies in critically acclaimed roles. He has, at times, been referred to as an icon. But for the purposes of this case, what you need to know is that Tupac Shakur was not a gangster. He was a hip-hop artist associated with the Mob Pyro. Now, the other gang that's important to know here is the Southside Compton Crips. And when it comes to Southside, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was the leader of the Burris Street faction of the Southside Compton Crips. And while Suge Knight rose to prominence in his neighborhood, Dwayne Davis rose to prominence in his neighborhood because he was a very successful, large-scale drug trafficker. And moves up in the world of gangs by bringing in money to the neighborhood. The other thing you'll learn is that Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was his nephew and also a highly respected member of the Southside Compton Crips. Now, as part of this case, you're going to hear another name. Eric Zip Martin. Now, Eric Zip Martin is not a member of the Southside Compton Crips. In fact, he's based out of New York. He's involved in the drug trade and knows Dwayne Davis as a result of both their involvements in the drug trade. Dwayne Davis from the West Coast, Eric Zip Martin from the East Coast. And one of the connections that Dwayne Davis gets through his association with Zip Martin is with Sean Puffy Combs, who was then the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. Sean Combs wanted some security when he came out to the West Coast. He was worried about Mob Pyru. He was worried about the members of Death Row Records. And so Dwayne Keefe D. Davis agreed to be around to act as unofficial security for Sean Combs and his artists when they came out west.
For nearly 30 years, the murder of Tupac remained hip-hop's greatest unsolved mystery. Everyone thought they knew the story, a casino brawl, a tragic retaliation on the Las Vegas Strip, but right out of the gate during the opening statements, the courtroom doors flew open to a much wider, darker conspiracy. Right from opening arguments, the defense made it clear that the narrative goes far beyond a simple street-level gang retaliation. They stood up in front of the jury and dropped a heavy anchor on a name that changes everything, Eric Von Zip Martin. The defense wasted no time bringing up the Von Zip narrative to frame the entire scope of the trial. They argued that Dwayne Keefe D. Davis didn't orchestrate this in a vacuum. By injecting Von Zip, the high-powered Bad Boy Records associate tied directly to Sean Diddy, Combs into their opening roadmap. The defense immediately pointed the finger at the East Coast-West Coast corporate war. They told the jury to look at the bigger picture, that money, power, and alleged high-level music industry motives were swirling around the streets of Vegas back in 1996. And just like that, in the very first hours of the trial, a local murder case collided head-on with the modern-day federal nightmare surrounding Diddy by putting the Von Zip narrative front and center in the opening statement. The defense didn't just outline a trial strategy, they turned the courtroom into a bridge connecting a decades-old tragedy directly to hip-hop's biggest modern-day mogul.
According to Keefe D, Zip and some other guys from New York approach him. They say, hey, we got your back on this. You need some help. And Keefe D says, no, got my boys, we'll handle this. He says, but we have we don't have any weapons. And Zip says something to the effect of, I can help you out with that. They go out to the car. Zip gives him a Glock. And then they go after, on the hunt.
Okay, was anybody else with Zip at the time?
Yeah, there was several guys from New York that were with him.
Okay, no rappers?
No, I only know the names of these people, and as far as I know, they were not rappers. There were more guys that were involved in Zip's circle of friends, people from New York that Not rappers that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. That's fair. In his book, he says a rapper Foxy Brown was with him.
Well, she wasn't there during this conversation. When they went out to the car, she was in the car. But during this conversation that took place prior to getting to the car, I don't think she was present. So this conversation between Zip, some other New Yorkers are there, Keefe D, Southsiders, and they all kind of evaluating what just took place with Orlando. And then when they go out to the car, Foxy's there, according to Keefe D.
Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The feds said that too.
He said that shit actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got killed, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire, a murder for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been a murder for hire, and Puffy would be locked up.
Yeah, they said he's a dirty motherfucker.
Yeah, and he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something, you know what I'm saying? So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker.
I mean, like I said, Zip had a history of ripping people off.
Yeah. He never ripped me off.
Well,
otherwise he wouldn't have.
Did he technically do? I mean, if he kept the money that supposedly.
True.
Burroughs, he also said that, he feels like, Diddy was behind Pac murder.
Yeah. If Diddy played a part in that stuff, like he said, Kirk know where the money came from. I'm going to say this. They tried to, if you talk about the Vegas trip and the whole 9 yards, Kirk said that he paid for people to drive out to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? He said he paid for people to drive out of Vegas. I was heavily with Bad Boy at that time. I don't remember that part of it. You understand? I don't remember that part of it. But if Kirk knew and he was paying for people to drive out to Vegas in the whole 9 yards, it's hard to hide $1 million, brother.
New bombshell in the investigation into who killed Tupac here in Vegas in 1996. The only man currently facing murder charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac. According to court documents, Davis made these claims in separate interviews, including one with Metro Police, suggesting that Diddy paid Eric Von Martin $1 million for the killing.
That's it for this update. Let me know what you think in the comments as things heating up for Diddy. Do you think he have to testify? And what you think about Foxy Brown? Is she a key witness? Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting. I'll catch you on the next one.